Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso at thewatchbox.com, your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see here on our channel or website. It's in the description below. Reach out to tmosso at thewatchbox.com. Today, we are discussing a watch after my own heart and my own wrist. This is the Sinn U2 Diving GMT, also known as the EZM 5, the Mission Timer 5. This is a diving GMT in U-boat steel with a tegmented steel bezel, 44 millimeters in diameter. In terms of its thickness, it's 15.7 millimeters thick, and from lug to lug, 50.5 millimeters, with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Throw it on my wrist. Sinn is good at building big cases that wear compact. I have no trouble accommodating this on my wrist. It doesn't look terribly thick, and you can even imagine it fitting underneath some sleeves, certainly jackets, but even some shirts. Now you can see over the top and then down the barrel, lug shape has as much to do with the way this one fits as the lug-to-lug dimension. And you can see that the lugs really are tightly downturned and stubby, so this one wears well. Think 44 millimeter Panerai Luminor, and this is even a bit more compact and wearable than that. Now you can see the strap, although thick, is buttery. Sheer side, contrasting red binding stitch, calf skin top and bottom. It is remarkably comfortable. I don't know how Sinn manages to execute fresh leather straps that are this soft, but I'm glad they do because it's distinctive of the brand and hugely appealing. This is a new Sinn factory strap, and we have a matching media blasted pin buckle for quick adjustments. U-boat steel, made by special metallurgical process. It's delivered to Ballman Voss shipyards, which then provides the steel to Sinn. And Sinn has its own case maker, SUG. They also make precious metal cases for Longa, among others. And SUG crafts these cases out of the U-boat steel, or as you can see on the reverse side, U-boat Stahl. What's the difference? Well, first, it's harder. Standard stainless steels are in the 200 Vickers range, whereas the U-boat Stahl is 350 to 400 Vickers, so it's harder and more scratch resistant. Also, standard stainless steel really should be rinsed after exposure to seawater. The U-boat Stahl does not need to be rinsed. There is no corrosion risk. Now you can also see there are little revetments or recesses in the flanks of the case so that the lugs can be drilled close to the case and then the strap can move without any impediment. So they thought of everything. Both bezel and case are media blasted, highly scratch resistant, and you can see that while this one does have a few small marks on it, and I mean very small marks, it is, after all, a pre-owned watch. It's been remarkably resilient and could easily pass for a factory fresh. Again, with only a few small exceptions, this is a watch that holds up well. The crown is a screw down and it's off-centered, so the watch can wear ambidextrously. It won't dig your wrist, whether it's on the left or the right wrist. The bezel is even harder than the case, but first I'm going to call your attention to the screws holding the bezel to the case. Those screws make this a captive bezel, which means you have to remove all the screws to pop the bezel off the case. Why is that important? Because unlike Omega Tag or Rolex, you can't accidentally knock it on a hard edge and snap the bezel off the case. It must be disassembled, and that's all to the credit of Sinn and the advantage of the owner. It is a diving bezel. Have a listen. It's remarkably chunky and well loomed. Line it up with the minute hand, and now you have an impromptu 0 to 60 minute count-up timer. The bezel is also made of tegmented steel, meaning it is extremely hard, about 1200 Vickers. It's effectively going to be a scratch-resistant bezel for all but the mightiest blows against the hardest surfaces. This little nick right here was probably a concrete wall. Knowing these bezels and the fact that my own EZM 1 doesn't have a mark on it after 3 years, I believe in the Tegment carbon diffusing hardening that Sinn does. The dial is all matte black with the readability maximized. The second time zone is not as critical, which is why there is a stub hand with a red index. There are 2 time zones on this dial, one in 12-hour format, one in 24-hour format. The watch features a combination quick set for the second time zone. Let me demonstrate how that works. There's a quick set for the second time zone in its 24-hour independent format, and then by turning in the other direction, you operate the quick set for the date. The watch does feature hacking or stop seconds, and an interesting feature of this watch is that it features Sinn's AR dehumidification or humidity resistance. Although AR is on the dial, the watch is actually nitrogen filled to remove moisture and impurities. And then the copper sulfate capsule, which usually sits on the flank of a normal Sinn case, because of the 2,000 meter water resistance here, that capsule is down at 6 o'clock on the dial. And when it turns a deep dark blue, then it is time to replace. Why is that there? Well, the nitrogen fill initially pushes moisture out of the case. That copper sulfate capsule will absorb any moisture that intrudes on the case in between services. Now, the watch uses a Sleet SW331, which is basically modified to work like an ETA 28932. Automatic winding, 25 joules, stop seconds, quick set date, second time zone in 24-hour format, bidirectional winding, 42-hour power reserve, and it beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour. Knowing Sinn, this movement would have been delivered in top grade, which is the second highest available, and then regulated in-house by Sinn. This is a remarkable and polyvalent sports watch. From my wrist to yours, the Sinn EZM 5 U2 Diving GMT. Email tmosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. And we're back with the EZM 5 U2 by night. Note the loomed seconds hand.